3 years of peace. The kingdom had learned to breathe again. And Lord Aldric Vane had learned to be a father. He sat at council with one boot propped on the table. Because Lyra had told him it looked funny, and now he could not stop. His advisors had stopped questioning it. She gathered wildflowers from the cracks in the cobblestones. Every day. The same careful ritual. As though the castle needed saving from its own grey stone. Cale watched the knight's train and memorized everything he saw. He was 7 and already planning which one he would beat first. His father saw himself so clearly it almost hurt. The Iron King was on his knees on the great hall floor. Lyra stood on his boots. He walked her across the room and called it exercise. Seraphine read to them until the candles burned low. She never rushed. She never skipped ahead. She gave them every word, every pause, every world the pages held. In the evening she governed and Cale watched. He sat with his scroll and took nothing in. And absorbed everything. On the ramparts at sunset he pulled her close. The city below glowed gold and amber. He had fought 40 wars to stand in this exact place. Somewhere in the darkening tree line, a rider watched. Motionless. Patient. Cold. Lord Maren had been waiting 3 years for the right moment. He had chosen this feast day carefully. A city full of noise and color and beautiful distraction. The crowd would do his work for him. They rode out in procession through a kingdom that loved them. Crimson banners. Cheering streets. Children on their parents' shoulders pointing at the silver circlet. Lyra waved with her whole arm. Seraphine watched her and thought, "She is too much like me, and I am so glad." Cale rode his pony like a general reviewing his troops. He was trying very hard not to smile. He did not succeed. Maren's men moved through the crowd in plain clothes. They had practiced this. They were very good. She saw the flowers. That was all it took, a child's reaching hand. One moment of distraction, one gap in the line. Lyra ran toward the stall and the crowd closed around her. The way all crowds close around small things. She was gone before anyone understood what gone meant. Cale spun and she was not there. He called her name once. Twice. Louder. The crowd did not stop. The crowd never stops. He felt the procession halt behind him. He did not need to look to know what his father's face would look like. He had never seen it and he already knew. The circlet was on the cobblestones. Aldric looked at it for 1 second. Then he was armor and cold purpose and nothing else. He found a man who had seen. He asked him once. The man pointed north and was very glad to be let go. She was in a black carriage moving fast through the back roads. She had not cried. She was counting the turns, the sounds, the smells of the land going past. Lyra sat in the dark with her knees pulled up to her chest and thought about the wildflowers she had not finished picking. She would finish when she got home. Maren rode ahead and let himself believe he had won. This was his error. He did not understand what he had taken, or from whom. Seraphine moved through the war room like a woman who had long prepared for this. Maps on the table. Roads marked. Her green eyes never flinched. She identified 3 possible routes in 4 minutes. She had been a soldier before she was a queen. She had never stopped being a soldier. Aldric armored in full and said nothing to anyone. Except, prepare to ride. His men knew better than to ask how many were coming. Cale was not in his chamber when they looked for him. He was not in the stables either, though his pony was gone. He had ridden the north road alone in the dark, because his sister needed him and he was his father's son. They found his tracks before dawn. Aldric looked at the small hoof prints in the mud, and his jaw did not move, but something behind his eyes did. Seraphine said, "He will be ahead of us." She meant it as a warning. She also meant it as pride. She could not entirely separate the two. Maren's keep stood on a cold grey cliff above the river. No banners. Narrow windows. A place that had been built to hold things that did not want to be held. Lyra was brought to a stone room with a fire and a window too high to reach. She looked at the fire. She looked at the door. She began to study the gaps. She ate what they brought her. She slept when they told her to. She let them think she was frightened. She was not frightened. Cale found the keep before his father. He tied his pony in the tree line and moved on foot along the river wall, the way he had watched the knights move in training. He found the kitchen door. He found the servants' passage. He found his sister on the third floor, third door, exactly where he would have put her. She looked up when the latch turned. She did not cry then either. She said, "I knew it would be you." Aldric arrived at the ridge above the keep and saw his son's pony in the tree line. His chest did something it had not done since the war. Seraphine looked at the keep walls and counted the guards and said, "We go in the east gate, there and there." And it was not a question. He hit the gates with everything. Not in anger. Anger is inefficient. In that cold and absolute determination that had broken every wall before this one. She came through the east with 3 knights and moved through the corridors the way she always moved, like a woman who had already decided how this ends. Maren met them in the great hall. He had a speech prepared. He did not get to deliver it. Aldric crossed the hall in 6 strides. The speech was never going to be relevant. He had not ridden through the night for a conversation. Cale brought Lyra down the servants' stairs, holding her hand very carefully, moving through the fighting like his father had taught him, walls and shadows, never the center. She held his hand back and walked fast and did not make a sound. 7 and 5. Iron in both of them. They came out into the courtyard as the gates broke. Seraphine saw them first. She did not say anything. She did not need to. Aldric came through the smoke and found them there. He went to one knee and opened his arms. Lyra walked into them like she had never been anywhere else. She said, "I was counting the turns." He said, "I know." He held her until it stopped feeling impossible. He looked up at Cale over her shoulder. The boy stood straight and tried to look like someone who had done an ordinary thing. His father looked at him for a long time. Then he said, "Good boy." 2 words. It was enough. Cale nearly held it together. Seraphine pulled them both in and said nothing at all. Because some things are not in the category of words. The fire behind them threw long shadows on the stone. They rode home through the night with Lyra asleep across her father's saddle. Cale rode beside him, straight-backed, grey eyes on the dark road ahead. A boy who had crossed a line and knew it. Maren was in chains. He had expected to die. He had not expected to be brought home as evidence. Because Aldric had found the letters. The ones with other seals. Other names. This had not been one lord acting alone. He sat at his war table as the sun came up, and looked at the map with different eyes. The piece had been a surface. Beneath it, something had been building. She stood at his shoulder and read the same names. She did not say, "I told you." She said, "Then we begin." Lyra slept in her chamber with the door standing open. A guard outside. A lamp lit. And a small fistful of wildflowers in a cup by the window, the one she had not finished picking. Someone had gone back for them. No one admitted it. He stood in the doorway in the dark and watched her breathe. He would dismantle every conspiracy on the map. He would burn every letter and break every seal and follow every thread to its end. And every evening he would stand in this doorway and watch his daughter sleep, and remember what he was doing it for. The piece had enemies. So did he. And he had never lost.